Manchester United lose to Grimsby on penalties. We're out of the Carabao Cup. I'm joined by Stephen Howson. Ste, in a sort of 2 years of low after low after low, we're sat here, I think, one of, if not the first time United have lost to a team 3 leagues below them. What do we even say after that? How do we even start to look at that game?
I would say the first 5 minutes sort of give you the clue of how the game was going to go. And the temptation in incidents like this is to talk about the big picture, about, this is going to affect the manager. What does this do to the team? The bigger problems that are at play. And it's easy to go, do you know what? We need a midfielder. What, to beat Grimsby? Do we? Do we really? I would argue we don't. I could argue that anyone who's a professional footballer at Manchester United, let alone one that's in the first team, I should be able to go and grab 2 or 3 lads from the under 21s, mix them in with the first team, and just expect that the job gets done. Anyone who's a professional footballer at Manchester United, let alone first team, because that wasn't really a rotated side. Every single one of those players has started a Premier League game outside of Benjamin Sesko, who just paid £65 million for. By the way, look forward to that on Sky tomorrow when they're putting up the price of fucking haircuts that Brian Mbumo's had versus the entire cost of that Grimsby squad. So you want to go, well, the team still needs transfers. All right, no. Well, it's early in the season. Okay, same for them. The temptation is to start looking at the non-needle moving things, like the accessories, if you like, rather than the meat of what's going on here. They started that game on a more intense thing, and I watched a bit of Grimsby beforehand, because I like to do that before I do my previews and actually have a pot of glue what's going on. Grimsby are not your kick and rush, lower league footballing sort of side. They stuck it on United and asked questions in a manner that a Premier League team would do. And they weren't great in really, like, there was no one in that team where I was like, wow, you've got 3 or 4 gems there that are probably championship or lower level Premier League quality. That wasn't the case. They was having bad touches. The touches were heavy. Some of the patterns that they were putting in weren't amazing, but they were asking questions of United all the way through the game. There was at one point in the game where anyone who has listened to me for more than 5 minutes knows that I am massive on the +1 in defence. They got 3v1 on us at one point in defence. And I audibly made a noise watching my telly. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what, I couldn't repeat the noise, but it was just a stupid noise. Like, what is this? What am I seeing here? At no point should you be getting, like, if Barcelona 2009 did that, I'd still be annoyed. Let alone Grimsby Town 2025. You can make a case for the second goal. Terrell Warren's caught it before putting it in the back of the net. Shouldn't matter. I've seen a lot of people slagging off Onana. Could he have done better for both the goals? Absolutely. But why have we not scored for 75 minutes at the other end of the pitch? Those two things aren't related. But people like to act like they are. Amorim's going to get a ton of abuse. He's going to get told to resign. He's going to get told he needs to be sacked. For me, he put a team out that was more than capable of getting the job done tonight. Why do we always excuse players to demand a change in manager? And why have we changed managers so often in the last decade? And actually, it's getting worse with each managerial change rather than better with each managerial change. Does no one just think that actually maybe that fellow that looks like my dad asked us to do, said we needed open heart surgery. We've not got into the waiting room yet, let alone gone through heart surgery. Like, it's gonna hurt whenever you do this. To do a cultural reset isn't just, you can't just say we're doing a cultural reset and it's happened. Like, these things take a lot of time. I saw a lot of comments referring to the video we did yesterday saying, can't bring up Sir Alex Ferguson. Why not? Why can't you bring up that? The greatest manager ever, full stop, Took 7 years, right? If he was the greatest manager ever, why do you expect some fucking clown from Portugal, which is what I'm seeing that Ruben Amorim is, to do it to the same degree in 9 months? If the greatest of all time, the greatest man manager, because clearly he wasn't a tactician and he was just fluky with that, right? Because all he was is a man manager. Why did it take him 7 years? But we expect anyone else to do it quicker. Like there's a people pay lip service to things like patience. And yeah, this isn't me excusing it. That was fucking objectively not good enough. And I hope someone got a fucking telly right around the red in that changing room tonight. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
why is it always we have to default? Like, people have just got this blown up sense of what a manager does and is responsible for. And it's disproportionate to what they're actually responsible for and capable of doing.
Just on that then, because we were talking before, and yes, obviously we've been on a slide as a club we finished 3rd, and then it was 8th, and it was 15th, and then we're 16th after 2 games, and we've just lost to a League 2 team. What has happened though? Because it wasn't. There has been a bit of a sort of a crunch, and we've been awful ever since. And that crunch has happened the moment Amorim arrived. I'm not saying it's just because of him or that it can never turn around or that he's a terrible manager. But we've gone from being a poor Premier League team, but above average, top half team, to being one of the worst teams in the league, culminating now in this sort of statement loss to a team 3 leagues below us. How do you think that's a team that's unsettled? Do you think they're pushing back against the system, the new formation? Because something has happened, hasn't it? Even though this team should beat Grimsby, we've gone from being bad to being noticeably worse, and it's not getting better, certainly yet. What do you think could have happened?
Apologies because it's not great content, but I don't know.
Yeah. No, I know. You don't have to know. It's just baffling, isn't it?
I would like to say, for me, the number one thing is always player recruitment, right? It's the most impactful, meaningful thing that a club can do, is to get your recruitment right. And United have got their recruitment wrong. However, the 11 that was put out on the pitch tonight is better than Grimsby's 11, right? So that doesn't wash for tonight. Now, yes, there can be outliers and there can be anomalies, but did that feel like an anomaly? It didn't really feel like an anomaly. The manager's got 20% win rate. If anything, that's par for the course. I don't know what you were saying at the time, but all I was hearing was we're going to equalise to lose on penalties. And the accuracy of that is kind of frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is mad. I mean, let's look at some of the details of the performance then. So obviously,
I thought he was going to say the positives then, and I was just going to...
No, even I'm struggling to find a silver lining to that one. Some of the details, the first 30 minutes, I think they just worked harder than us. They seemed more up for it than us. They were faster than us. All these things that, we get accused of our squad being deficient in when it comes to Premier League opposition. We aren't as athletic as them. We aren't as strong as them. We aren't as physical as them. Well, surely tonight, like you said, you can't say we're not as good as them, or we're not as fit as them, or we're not as strong as them. I know you can have strong, fit players in League Two, but like some of the arguments that we normally have, we're seeing again, and we're seeing against teams that have a team that's far worse than us. The first 30 minutes, do you think they underestimated Grimsby? Do you think they didn't do any research and didn't know what type of football they played? Do you think we thought we'd just win and we'd cruise it? Why do we think that first 30 minutes in particular, Grimsby were literally just the better team?
Is it a mentality thing? I saw a lot of people, Rio in particular, was talking about the fragility of how the mental fragility of this team. But as he was saying it, I'm thinking about, we were 4-2 down with minutes to go against Lyon last year, and we ended up winning that game. Like, that's not, to me, a mentally fragile side. To be able to dig in like that, and to be able to come from behind in the moments that we did, because there's been a few moments that this team has managed to galvanise and come from behind. Christ, we had it, was it Bilbao as well last year? I understand what you're saying, but the evidence suggests otherwise. Could it be that you've underestimated them? If we have, that's bad on everyone's front. If we have, like I said, the gaffer's going to end up getting the bulk of the blame for this because that's how it works. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but that is how it works. But surely you as professional players, sitting in that changing room, before you go out, we ain't got a win yet this season, boys. We do not we fight for everything. You overplay this game today and make sure we get the fucking job done. And actually, you haven't started a game so far this season. You haven't started a game so far this season. I haven't fucking started a game so far this season. This is my opportunity to change his fucking mind. So when we play Burnley on Saturday, he's got to think about me in his starting 11. Like, what more motivation do these players need than you haven't fucking won a game, and actually half of the people that started tonight are not regular starters. Like, go through the team. Fredrickson, first start. Onana, first start. Maguire, I think that's his first start. Heaven, first start. Ugarte, first start. I think. Menu, first start. Ahmad started, hadn't he? Sesko, first start.
Yeah.
How about, lads? So many of us in this team here today have all got a point to prove. And this team, this badge, hasn't won a game all season. So what more motivation do you need to start a game fast? And we have started fast. We started against Arsenal fast and we started against Fulham fast. So that's not a correlation of what's been going on. The one thing that is correlated across all those games with different goalkeepers and different defenders is that we are more scared of crosses than fucking Count Dracula.
The crossing thing is wild, isn't it? Across like you said, across goalkeepers, different styles, different systems. We just, every time the ball comes in our box, we look terrified. And what is that? 4 goals we've conceded this. 3 goals we've conceded out of 4 from crosses and set pieces this season.
Yeah, all corners. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just on the manager then, because obviously I know you sort of addressed it before, sort of conceptually, and I do agree with you that you can't just expect the greatest manager of all time to do something and then a lesser manager to do it 7 times quicker. But what are you seeing at the moment in Amorim specifically that gives you some faith that this can turn around? Because I get that, it's going to take a manager, whoever it is, some time to do that, but is putting up with a 27% win rate and losing to Grimsby and that sort of thing. In the face of all that, do you still feel confident in Amorim specifically?
No. I don't know if I'm seeing anything in him that makes me... I mean, from him rocking on the bench tonight during the penalty shootout, that felt like a Wally with a brolly sort of moment, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily seeing anything on the pitch. He's making great noises off it. So what? I could make great noises off it. I would know exactly what to say in press conferences. People would be fucking going, Jesus Christ, you hear that? Doesn't mean I would have a fucking pot of glue what's going on when we step out onto the pitch. Gary Neville made a great point. He said he thought he knew football when he was managing Valencia. And, which manager was it? One of the managers. But he's a pretty good manager. Oh, who was it? I don't think it was... Emery. I don't think it was Emery, but I think it could have been Emery. Maybe. Was Emery in Spain at the time?
I believe so. He probably would have been there with Sevilla then, wouldn't he? Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, G-Nevs was saying someone did something. He said, and he was still trying to figure out what they did in the first 10 minutes. And he changed something after like 15 minutes. And he was like, someone said to him, oh, they've changed again. And he's like, what? Still trying to figure out what they were doing first. And he goes, and he realised that there was levels to the management thing. He said he thought he knew it. I think the thing with... I'm seeing a lot of people saying he's stubborn, right? It's the stupidest comment you can ever make about a manager, because of course they are. Every single manager has to be stubborn. They have to be almost deluded. They have to think that they've got the secret to managing and nobody else has got it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a manager. There's an arrogance to that, but there's a self-belief about that. Like, that's how managers have to work, and that's how they have to see the game. They have to think that they've got the one singular vision to crack the code for football, or it's not going to work, right? Every single good manager thinks like that. They all have to think like that. But what they also have to do is find a way to win. You can't just be like, I think this is how football should be played, and I'm right and everyone else is wrong. What you also have to do is win while you're thinking that. Or your system is clearly not fucking right. And that's what makes the best managers the best managers. Carlo Ancelotti will find a way to win with whatever he's got. That's his system almost. Sir Alex Ferguson was very adaptable with his system. But there was principles that he would have been dogmatic about. Pep is quite dogmatic about what he wants to see in his system, but he evolves and tweaks it as he sees people coming up with ideas to counter it. You have to find a way to win. And actually, it's the only thing that quiets the discourse around is winning. The whole Kobe Mainu Bruno situation just fucking disappears if you win 5 in a row. Simple as that. But while you're not winning games, the pressure is probably something we'll never experience.
Do you think he is at risk, imminent sort of next few weeks kind of risk, or do you think Ineos will go, we can't have a repeat of Ten Hag, we've got to back him to the end of the season, or do you think these could be the last few games for him?
I don't think there's a black and white answer. I think it depends. I think if you lose to Burnley and then it's international break, could he go? Yeah, he could. I think Amorim seems the sort that would offer his resignation, didn't he already offer that anyway?
I mean, theoretically, I think supposedly, he sort of mentioned it, I think, over Christmas.
I think he could walk. I don't think Ineos would want to sack him weeks into the new season when they've just invested a lot of money into players for his system. But that being said, you'd get a pretty decent 4-3-3 out of this team if you wanted it. It's not like we've got a system or a selection of players that you couldn't make something happen with. And I think a lot of people would be sitting there going, probably still need another midfielder, but if you play Ugarte, Mainu and Bruno, or Ugarte, Casemiro and Bruno, pretty good midfield. It's a pretty solid midfield, really.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. You could even probably, on a push, play Ugarte, Bruno and Mount, maybe. If you wanted to. You'd probably get a functional midfield out of 3 of them. 2 of them's a bit harder work. But, I should be able to play 2 Manchester United midfielders against fucking Grimsby and come away with a win. Shouldn't matter. And the other thing is as well, it's not a 2, really. I know it literally is a 2, but it's not a 2 because the wing backs are meant to be involved in that, making it more numbers. It is 11v11. If we're underloaded in midfield, we should have overloads elsewhere on the pitch, and the issue is not finding those overloads. It's 11v11. There is no such thing as you being overrun in one area if you're not overrunning them in another area. We're playing chess, not checkers. You've got to be able to get the ball to those players, and if we're not doing that, then you've got to figure it out. But I would say, from a system point of view, we did look pretty vulnerable at times, considering it was Grimsby.
considering it was Grimsby. Right, Steve, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us at home as well. Get your thoughts in the comments below. A pretty, just outright woeful and dire night for Manchester United. Out of the cup to Grimsby, away from home. We'll see in a bit.